Yeah. I can imagine what it is. I can just imagine what it is.
But you won't need me at those court hearings anyway, so. Kyle and your
Well, it's
CTI
it's
guy will be there.
5:30, so we're gonna get the workshop going. First, we're gonna have the citizen forum. As mayor, it's my duty to enforce order, officer call, and Eubanks or the sergeant of arms, and will assist in maintaining order. Those who have signed up to speak will be recognized for 3 minutes. Excuse me. In no event will any citizens forum last more than 1 hour. Unless you are recognized by me and granted permission to speak, you are not to address this board or otherwise make verbal noises that can be heard by any member of this board during these proceedings. Excuse me. If you do so, you may declare it out of order. If you proceed after being declared out of order, your conduct will be deemed substantial interference with these proceedings. Thereupon, you will be removed from these chambers and may also face criminal charges pursuant to TCA 39-17-306. It is my sincere hope that everyone participating in these proceedings will conduct themselves in a polite manner with respect shown to all, regardless of disagreement. We'll start the citizen forum, and the first one, Mary Jane Skinner, get up and state your name and your address for the record.
My name is Mary Jane Skinner, and I live at 792 Stellings River Road. There's a lot of construction going on. They're building the houses there, and but this morning when I went back home, they were crushing rocks, and all these fumes and all the stuff in the air was coming out by my house. And with my allergies, it was hard to breathe when I got out of the car to go into the house. So I came back and talked to the people at Codes, and Mr. Randolph was supposed to call and let me know what was going on, and I have not heard from him yet. And but I would like to know if, and they couldn't tell me at Codes, if they had a permit to crush the rocks out there. And if so, why did this afternoon the machine was gone, the crushing machine was gone? So I didn't know if there was something that could be done about that, or if it is, they had to have a permit to crush the rocks. But people in that area needs to be aware and needs to be notified when something like that happens, because there is several people in that area that do have allergies, real bad allergies. I wound up in the hospital in the ER with pneumonia from when they were burning all those trees and things like that. I don't want to go through that again. I've got an inhaler that I use now, which I had never used before in my life. So I would like to get some answers if someone with Codes would call me or let me know what was going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Becky Pollock. State your name and address for the record, please.
Okay, Becky Pollock, 8041 Burntwood Drive, Laverne, Tennessee. I'm here about the rezoning on Blair and Waldron Road. I asked that that be sent back to the Planning Commission based upon there were no signs posted, and I think it should be sent back for a public forum and reconsideration to the Planning Committee. I know others wish they could be here, but on such short notice, they weren't able to make it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next will be Matt Church. Step up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Matt Church, Waxman Drive, Laverne, Tennessee. Mayor, Alderman, Vice Mayor. I would just like to discuss a situation that happened on May 30th, 1300 hours in the middle of the day. We had a 911 call to Nelson Drive, and the fire department was dispatched. It was a structure fire 911 call. As our fire department was rolling out of the station, the actual fire truck broke down, going to a 911 call. The fire truck broke down. Another fire truck had to stop, pick up the firemen, and they all rode in the same truck to get to the call. Now, it was fortunate enough that it wasn't a structure fire. Come to find out, it was the smoke that they do to do the pipe testing. However, with that said, I want you just to imagine if it was a real call and it was a real fire and your family was in the house or your relatives were in the house. So there's some discrepancies with Alderman Brown about the purchase of adequate fire equipment. That's why we need it. The truck that broke down is aging. The truck that broke down is obsolete. These are terms that professional firemen are using. Obsolete, that's in the emergency business, it's crazy. So Alderman Brown, if you would consider listening to the needs and the safety for my children and yours, if the fire department or the police department, if they ask for a tool to provide a service, it's the board's responsibility to provide that tool. So we need to consider, as we lower taxes and water rates and everything else, it's good lip service to get reelected, but it's not good for the city. That's all I have. Thanks.
Next will be Diane Sanders. Come to the podium and state your name and the address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Diane Sanders. I live at 100 Lillian Court. That's in Woodsong. And I also serve on the board, the HOA board for Woodsong. And we've come before this meeting before and have opposed any rezoning to the property on Blair Road for anything other than R1 without significant road improvements being done. We're not against growth or development. We just want it to be done in a manner that takes the safety of current and future residents into consideration and has the infrastructure put in place to support that growth. Blair Road is already very dangerous. It's narrow, it's curvy, it has multiple hills on it that limit visibility. There's not a shoulder, there's ditches and drop-offs. The grooves in the asphalt from where cars have been pulled out of the ditches and the skid marks all over the road are proof of that. I've personally witnessed multiple accidents on the road, and I've lost count of the number of times the wooden fence near the Woodsong entrance has been hit. I've had multiple close calls on that road, from a tire bouncing down the road toward my car to someone hydroplaning toward me when I'm sitting at the entrance of Woodsong, to a car flipped completely over on that hairpin curve, to daily cars cut the corners too sharp, the curves, and come into oncoming traffic. So, I mean, the city's even installed dangerous intersection signs and the concealed driveway sign, so it's obviously no secret to them that this road is dangerous. The traffic has steadily increased on this road with all the development going on. I'm just not sure what has to happen for the city to realize that this country road can't take any more traffic as it is. It's got to be improved. I mean, the last thing we want is for people to, die on this road. Other things that need to be considered with this development is that as the development on Blair continues, they're building things so close to the road, you wouldn't even be able to widen the road in the future because it's just going to be too close. There's a lot of underdeveloped property already around Blair Road. Some of it's in Smyrna, which we wouldn't even have control of. There's still a church planned to be built on the road. With this new proposed development, the residents of this place would use Blair Road to get to the shopping on Sam Ridley. They're not going to use Waldron Road. There's also the outlets that would be on Blair Road are on hills, so people pulling out would not be able to see a car until it crests the hill, and then the cars traveling on Blair Road can't see until they crest the hill. The impact to our schools, I've been told there's not going to be any new schools built in Rutherford County for up to 5 years. In addition to that, understaffed police and firefighters. I mean, God bless them, they're doing the best they can, but they need help. I just don't see why the city would want to build so many townhomes and single-family homes in a 200-acre area when the lots in Woodsong are a third of an acre and they're selling for $300,000-$400,000 and they're being sold as quickly as they're being built. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next will be Steve McGill. Get up, state your name and address for the Record, please.
I'm Steve McGill at 177 Blair Road. I echo a lot of what Diane just said. I've lived at Blair Road for 37 years, so most of my life. I live directly, almost directly across from the property that is up for rezoning. We know that eventually it is going to be developed. We would like to see it developed smartly. The road cannot handle it. I grew up sledding on that road. That's how little traffic we had back in the day. I can hardly get out of my driveway half the time now in the mornings. The schools on either end of Blair, Rock Springs Middle, Rock Springs Elementary, are a complete cut-through for everybody in the morning. It's a cut-through from Nolansville back to the shopping area in Smyrna. We are just inundated with traffic on the road already. I don't understand how we could already be to the point where we have a recommendation from the Planning Commission when, to my knowledge, there has not been a traffic study, and today was the first day there was a zoning request placed on the property. So I am confused on what the process is of how we've even gotten to this point. I would ask that this be deferred back to the Planning Commission and that people actually have a chance to react and share with you what it's really like to live on Blair Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing nobody else on the sign-up sheet, I'll call this citizen forum closed. And we're just going to go right into the meeting since it's after 5:30. That this is the workshop for the mayor and alderman meeting. It's June 29th, 2017. The prayers with Pastor Gilbert with the Life of Victory Church. Vice Mayor Green's got the pledge. Look over your minutes for June 6, 2017 public hearing and June 6th, 2017 regular meeting. The meeting tonight, we got one certification and one performance award. Down the consent agenda, number 4, A, approve agreement with Nexus Risk Solution for the Virtual Crime Center Service. I thought we had this last month, Chief.
We did, but we had to come back because there was some changing and Evan approved it, so it's back again. The dollars are there in the budget that were approved all the way through the process, and this is so that we can go ahead and proceed after July the 1st to do the agreement with them and then move forward.
What was changed? Just some verbiage?
Verbiage.
Okay. And you're happy with it now?
Yes, sir.
Any further questions about this one? Not, we'll move on. B, approve agreement with Alpro for police department software. Chief, I guess that's you again.
Glenn cutting me off over here, Mayor.
Yeah.
He forgot I got a pistol.
I thought you were done.
Now, iPro is another one of those that's funded in the fiscal year budget, and we had an agreement there. Unless something else comes in from them that's different from what we have, this should fix it. If not, then we'll be back again next month with the language when Evan approves what's there at that time, if there's a change.
Okay, any questions on the software? What's the next one is approve agreement with Agency 360 for police department software.
Agency 360 software is the same, it's funded. It was built into the budget, and we have several pages of documentation that's there, but nothing indicates that it is a contract as such. So if we have to, we'll come back again next month, but what's there thus far doesn't indicate that there's a problem.
Any question need to be asked for the Motorola, for the 360 for the police?
I'd like to know on those three, all three of those, have you reviewed the agreement?
I mean, I've reviewed the LexisNexis agreement. I don't think I've seen the other two, but I'm sure the chief will get it to me.
They don't have contracts as such. They have descriptive information about just what it costs and what they do. And it's not a contract as such. And if it's a contract, we'll have to come back. If it's simply approving and then doing it, because iPro and Agency 360 will both be in the cloud. LexisNexis will utilize information from our CAD and RMS, our records management system, so that we can do the display of the crime mapping for citizens, and then we can do internal crime analysis as well. Subscription.
Do we have a projected time as to when they might
Yeah.
get back with you on it? Do we have a projected time as to when they might get back with you on that, so it could be
Well,
ready for
we've
Thursday?
asked them, and we haven't gotten anything back yet. That's the problem. The one lady's on vacation, and apparently that's the only one with iPro that can talk to us about it. So we're still waiting on that, and Agency 360 said that they sent us what they had. So we'll find out for sure, though, before anything's done.
Yeah, I mean, prior to the 6th, let's say, since the holiday's on the 4th, everybody will be back to work on the 5th. If we don't get it before, what's a reasonable time, Evan, for you to look at that? If it happens to be a contract?
Well, I would want, at least 48 hours.
Well, I think that's still cutting it a little bit short. I think that we should remove these and put them into discussion, take them off of consent agenda, because I'd hate to approve this as a group and bunch it in with everything else. And let's put it in that, would you be amenable to having that as a discussion?
That's fine, but if they come back and say absolutely, that's all there is.
Yeah, if it's a discussion, then we'll say that's fine with us.
But that puts us another month behind. If
No, I'm saying.
you're saying
let's
put it
as
off
a
the
discussion,
consent. I
and we
got it.
take it off of the consent,
got
because
it.
we can't discuss the consent.
I agree.
Okay, so Bruce, if you could remove that and put that as a discussion on all, do we
No.
do all three?
No.
IA Pro, the Agency 360, I think are the two that we really don't have.
Right.
Okay, let's do B and C as a discussion, and take those off consent.
Because we're not gonna ask for a purchase order to move forward with it until we hear
I
anyway.
understand, but it sort of binds us if we put it into consent, since we can't discuss it.
Right.
Anything else? Number D, approve service agreement with Motorola Solutions for maintenance program on the radio system equipment.
And this contract is with Motorola, and it's to provide all the maintenance, all the upgrades for the software, et cetera, for everything we have, radio consoles, equipment in dispatch, plus everything on the back end that's over in Glenn's server room. That's where all the rest of the radio brains are. All of that is IP-based stuff now, so you have to have software programming and updates and so on and so forth, and that's what this is for. It also protects us with our NICE, NICE recorder. That's the brand name, but it is a nice recorder, to be honest with you. It records all the radio traffic, everything for the trunk system, and we can go in and pull information off of it fairly quickly. But that's 24/7, 365 service agreement that we have to have from them to do all the maintenance, et cetera. It's not the Metro part of the agreement where we use their infrastructure, et cetera. They never did their back-end stuff. We have to have that separately since we own the equipment here.
That's where you were talking a while ago, where when something happened, one of your officers or someone had to actually take it. They wouldn't come here. We had to take it to Metro. And that's what we got rid of. You had the individual.
That's what we
come.
got rid of. Plus,
Okay.
we didn't have the ability to service our back-end equipment over here in the NICE recorder at all. Metro wouldn't come here to do anything.
Right.
So we had to have that actually with Motorola Solutions to handle our repairs and maintenance. And that's not just for the police department, that's for our complete city public safety system. I have to take care of him.
Any further questions?
And Public Works, and Garland.
Moving down to number E, That's a approved street paving for physical year 2017, 2018.
Is this your baby?
Garland, this is probably you here.
Yes, sir. This is the ones I picked for next year. I do have some more coming next month. It's all my folks didn't get in time. But that's the ones we're gonna be doing this year to start out with, so I can get on the schedule with Hoover, and then we'll probably have some more done in October. Any more questions?
Down to F, approved change order number 1, water treatment plant roof replacement and repair project. Excuse me. Griggs and Maloney.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Aldermen. Change order number 1 will add $8,365 and 0 contract days to the water treatment plant roof replacement and repairs project. This is for the 2003 plant addition building. That part of the project scope was for repairing the roof leaks and not a complete roof replacement. When the contractor pulled back a couple of the panels in a few areas to replace the insulation, he noticed that the mastic seal around the perimeter that's between the panel and the gutter was not in place, and they verified that that was consistent along both of the sides of the building with the gutter. So this is a price to add that mastic in that area so that there's not potential for water to accumulate on the edge of the panels and start seeping back into the building envelope. The original contingency budget for this project is $64,000. This would use $8,365 and leave $55,635 in the contingency budget. We recommend this change order for approval. Do you all have any questions?
Any questions? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
We're down to G. Approve the telecommunications service agreement with Tennessee Telephone Company to upgrade internet access speeds.
This is just coming to your attention. TDS contacted me last week before last, and they're just upgrading our internet service from 100 meg to 250 meg for no additional cost. Just they're doing that with some of their bigger customers as just they can do it now, and they're doing it at the same cost. So we're just bringing it before you guys to. It's an amendment to the contract, so it has to be signed. So just informational and to sign that amendment.
Thanks, Dan. We're down to new business. This is first reading, ordinance 2017-14. This is an ordinance to amend the City of Laverne zoning ordinance by changing the official zoning map for tax map 32, parcel 4, consisting of 214.44 acres located at the intersection of Blair Road and Walden Road from a R1 low density zoning district to a R2 minimum density PDR plan density residential zoning district. This received a favorable recommendation from the Planning Commission June 27, 2017.
Yes, sir. My name is Will Hager. I'm with Lowson Associates, representing our client D.R. Horton, who's the purchaser of the property. Happy to answer any questions you might have regarding the project.
Any questions?
Okay, I have a question, Mayor. At the Planning Commission, I had asked you that you receive any feedback from staff or any of the residents. Is that still your statement, that you did not?
That's true. We received some comments from Jay in his office, and we addressed those prior to the planning commission meeting.
As far as what was on the
The technical items and
Yeah.
issues
I
to be
was,
addressed.
did any of the residents?
No, sir.
Okay.
We have not heard from any residents.
I got a few calls from residents today, and a lot of them just wasn't aware of it.
Okay.
Wasn't aware of it, and maybe you can kind of explain for the people who's not up to speed, what are y'all planning on doing with that 200? That's a large tract of land.
It's a significant property, and the concept of the project is to cluster it in basically 3 to 4 separate nodes, little sub-neighborhoods, mostly single-family, detached residences, some townhomes, and even a gated 55-plus area in kind of the area that borders the Woodsong neighborhood, which I think was mentioned earlier. We also have conducted a traffic study that's been submitted to staff for their review, and we're prepared to make the required improvements as called out in that study, which basically amounts to turn lanes into and out of the project in several points. In addition to that, we've discussed with the Planning Commission and the staff possibilities of a future roundabout near the Lake Road intersection, as well as some off-site sewer improvements to help improve the overall area. Those details have not been worked out yet, but we're interested in continuing those conversations.
What, like you got the 55 and older area, that'd be the senior, you're talking about the senior?
Yes, sir, age-targeted area. It seems like Laverne could use a product like that, so.
You know what it's gonna look like? It's gonna be 1-story, 2-story, or?
I think it's a mix. We have some representatives from D.R. Horton that may be able to speak to that more directly, but a combination. But design would be focused on people that are either looking to downsize or lessen their maintenance responsibilities.
And then you're gonna have some multi-family structures like condos?
No multifamily, but for-sale townhouses that would be attached.
And then you're gonna have single family structures?
Yes, sir. Single-family detached would be the majority of the neighborhood.
And how much, you say PDR, how much acres is supposed to be like set away for greenway or open space?
We've hit, I think the minimum's 30%, and we're just over that. So I think it's close to 60 acres or so in green space.
Jay, you estimated if it just went all R1, how many houses had y'all estimated going, 214 acres? Was it three houses per acre? Is that about what it goes out to? So 3 would be 600 something. So with this project here, how many structures would be on if it goes? What they got planned?
There were.
I think we looked at 700 and about 36.
Yeah, it's 536 single-family, 110 townhomes, and 106 senior adult housing units.
So about 150 more versus. Okay. What was the reason you wanted to go PDR? Is there a lot of land over there that's not suitable for building that you're going to use for open space or?
Well, it's a pretty unique property. It's obviously it's been a farm for decades, and there's some good, there's a barn structure we'd like to preserve. There's also a cemetery that we'd like to preserve within a roundabout that's kind of shown on our site plan. There's also a significant drainage way through the property. So that kind of acts as kind of a focal point in a park for the entire neighborhood.
Right.
So those are the features we're trying to preserve while providing some good quality housing for the area.
Yeah, it is a big plot of land. And
Yes, sir.
It raised a lot of eyebrows for people out there, you know.
Sure.
It's one way or the other, it's gonna impact somebody, you know.
Well, we're hoping to make a positive impact, obviously. So if there are any other questions, we're happy to address those.
Okay, I've got a question for Jay. As you might remember on Tuesday, prior to us putting that to a vote, you did state that we do have postage out there as far as signage.
It was my understanding that there were signs up.
Okay. Do we have?
They weren't up this morning. but they have since been placed
They were
back on the
about
property.
11 o'clock today.
Usually they don't put up signage till after, Brewster, after the first reading, but we usually put it up a little earlier now, don't we?
Yeah, we, for the last several years, we have been putting them up prior to the planning commission meeting. There is no rule or law that states we have to put the signs up at that time, but obviously we want to put the signs out prior to the public hearing, which we don't hold until prior to the second reading, which would not be until the August meeting if it's approved next week on first reading. So I don't feel that the sign issue is really relevant because the planning commission doesn't have an open forum for people to speak at that meeting. They come before this board for that.
Right. Anybody have any questions, since everybody's here that can answer questions?
Have you received a lot of phone calls?
I received one today.
One today?
They probably were calling me, because I received quite a few. So
Did you?
they probably called my number first, because I got a few.
I did too. Bruce, are you aware of a lot of phone calls that you've received about this property?
I have not received any to this point.
Okay.
I received a few, but I think we'll get more between now and Tuesday, because, you know, like I say, I think a lot of people just didn't know about it, you know, and a lot of people don't know a whole lot about it. This is time that anybody ask any questions. I've asked everything that I know that I hadn't already heard. I'm sure something I'm missing, but the calls I've been getting is traffic. You know, Blair Road is a narrow road, Fourth Walden Road, and you know that's a big issue. You know, I know they could go R1, and they. This is going to be probably about 150 more homes, but, you know, anytime you have a rezoning, a lot of people's concerned, you know.
Sure.
So I think the main thing is, you know, the citizen needs to be aware and educated on what's going on so everybody can make a rational decision on it. And I appreciate everybody coming today and tonight. And I'm sure Tuesday night we'll have more.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything else? We'll move on to number 6.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 6, first reading ordinance 2017-15, an ordinance to amend Title 10, Chapter 1 of the Laverne Municipal Code by adding a new section 10-105 entitled Removal of the Protection from Animal Excremation. What is that?
Excrement.
Yeah.
Alderman Cole had asked us to put something in the municipal code regarding basically horse manure being in city streets and the requirement to either have some sort of device to catch that or require folks to clean up after the horses. So after some discussion, we decided we would not only make it applicable to horses, but also to other animals that people may be walking or have under their control. So it's in reference to dogs and other animals as well as devices on horses.
Who would be the enforcer?
Probably the police department would be my guess.
Does the police department currently enforce ordinances?
Some codes enforces quite a few.
Since this is on the streets, it'll probably be primarily police. Codes, there's really more things off the street, off the right-of-ways.
Is there a fine associated with the failure to comply with the ordinance?
It would be the general provision, $50 per day, I think it is. Oh, we thought of some colorful names for this one, yeah, trust me.
It would be a citation like we do on noise or parking or something like that. We wouldn't be going writing a ticket every day. I'm gonna have to have quite a few more people just to do that, because it's really getting deep.
Are we having a huge issue with this? Maybe I've overlooked it because I'm a farm girl.
I don't know how much of an issue it is, but Alderman Cole felt it was important enough to proceed with, so. Doing what we're asked.
It's Fergus Road sidewalk.
Okay.
All right, number 7.
I've got it, I'm sorry. I hate to ask it, but, I mean, I hate to even bring it up, but, I mean, maybe, you said Fergus Road? Chief, you said Fergus Road?
Fergus Road sidewalk.
So that's pretty close into my area. I mean, maybe, what time of day are we talking? I've never seen, other than the parade, I've never seen a horse on the road. And I hope we're just sticking with horses. But what time of day, and that doesn't mean that when the officer I can't just call you and tell you a horse did it. And then you'd have to see it to write the ticket.
You'd have to do DNA on the horse and excrement to be able to prove it if you did that.
I mean, I really think, if we're gonna bring up, or if we're gonna just start bringing those up, I would rather see y'all looking for people on their cell phones driving. I mean, I don't see that. I just don't see it. How are you gonna enforce that?
And if it's not on the roadway, if it's on the sidewalk, can I get a little help here? Jason, what do you think?
I guess it would be an issue for Stephanie.
Now, the horses are in Lake Forest quite a bit.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I saw a deer. Are we gonna do that? Can I call you for that?
Who do you cite?
It's not,
I'm not gonna cite the good Lord.
it's not chattel property.
Okay, I mean, I don't mean to make light of the situation. Obviously, someone has called their alderman and they are concerned about it. And I don't mean to make light of it, and I'm not going to make light of it. That is a concern. But I just don't think that that's gonna be.
I know about this only because we received a call. And it was a very large item of.
Well, they're horses. They do that.
They only have one size.
But that's all I've ever seen, but there are ones, and I've seen the ones that ride in Lake Forest that actually have collection bags on.
Yeah, I mean, the only time I've ever seen them was when we're in the parade.
Yeah. These ride down and then go out to the horse trial area. So we see them a lot out by Station 3 because they go out that way to get to the horse trial area. Every one I've ever seen has always had the container on.
Let me intervene. Let me just interject this. I mean, because I've never seen it, and I'm not saying that I'm all over the city, all over the county, and to see it. But let's just talk to, because obviously, if it's just that area, let's talk to whoever's walking on that area and just tell them, put something on the horse, as opposed to, taking this time and trying to get.
Which means any dog where the owner is walking them and it's not cleaned up, it's gonna be an issue.
Okay.
And I'm sure that's a bigger issue overall.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, dogs a lot more than horses, to be honest with you. The only place I've seen a horse-type animal anywhere else actually was those that were loose on either Jefferson Pike or on Nashville Highway since I've been here. I've been here since '03.
Used to be on Mill Lane, but those are gone.
Okay, and like I said, obviously, it's a concern to a citizen who decided to talk to their alderman, and yes, I agree with it. I mean, because if you walk around, I mean, I work in Nashville, and I see people every morning, and they're walking with their bags, and they do that. And I think that should be addressed, but I'm just saying that, thank you, Mayor.
Moving on to number 7, first reading, ordinance 2017-16, ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2016-17 general fund budget. Number 7. Phyllis? Yeah, I think it's something we just do every year.
Yes, we're nearing our year end. As a matter of fact, today was year end, and we are looking at our budgets and our line items to make sure that we have, budgeted correctly during the year. And the line items that you see here are line items that we were either under or over. Debt service, we did a bond refunding this year, so we did the expense for the bond refunding, but our auditors have come in and done the actual entries, and since we had the bond reissue, this $2.1 million was the actual cash that we received, and then we had to turn right back around and pay the new bond debt. So you'll see there, we received the money and then turned back around and sent it back to the debt, to the bond issuance. And then, of course, we've had the fire department. We had a grant, a $100,000 grant, where we received the money recently, and the $73,000 and the $45,000 are related to the grant. We had some vehicle maintenance in the fire department that exceeded the budget, and that was mainly due to some leftover from prior year that one of our vendors did not invoice us until after we had closed the previous year, so the expense got added to this year. Of course, fire department has went over on some, I'm sorry, that was into the fire department. Fleet department, we have went over a little bit on the police vehicle maintenance, and we went over a little bit on economic development due to some membership fees and dues and stuff that was, so in all, the expenses are going to be offset by the $2.1 million in revenues, the $100,000 grant, and then we'll be adjusting the fund balance by $99,000.
Any questions for Phyllis? Number 8, I guess it's you too. It's first reading ordinance 2017-17. An ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2016-17 senior citizen fund budget.
Yes, this is for the Senior Citizens Fund. We actually went over on the food line item by $5,000, and this will be a decrease to the fund balance for the senior center.
Any questions for Phyllis? I think number 9 is first reading ordinance 2017-18, ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2016-17 drug fund budget.
Yes. At the beginning of this year, we were mandated to split out the equitable sharing funds money from the drug fund, and this is the actual this is to transfer the money out of the drug fund and put it into the equitable sharing fund. So it's an expense to the drug fund, and then it'll be moved over to the equitable sharing. Well, actually, it's already been moved over to the equitable sharing. Of course, this decreases the drug fund balance by $69,000, but we've got that split up now according to the guidelines that were presented to us.
Okay, the number 10 is you too. It's first reading ordinance 2017-19, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2016-17 water and sewer fund budget.
Yes, this is part of our meter replacement program. We ordered 2 fairly large batches of meters this year. We have a meter swap out program now where we're trying to swap out approximately 1,000 meters per year, and this was to purchase the additional meters that we needed to get some of those meters switched out. These are the residential meters.
Any questions while Phyllis up here? While you're up here, I signed something for Monteque today. There's a $500,000 grant that we received. Can you explain that?
Yes, that I think is on the agenda next. Is it on the agenda next month, Bruce, or is it on this?
I don't know yet.
Okay. We have generally participated in the THDA grant. It's basically to help with home repairs for those that are underprivileged, or to assist with lower income families who can't afford rent or housing. We have been, according to the documentation that I read, we have been awarded $500,000 for the 17-18 fiscal year. This right here, this will be the THDA grant will be probably before the board the next meeting if after Bruce reviews those documents.
If it requires any approval.
If it requires, yeah.
But it's quite a bit more than what we've been getting, right?
Yeah, so we've been getting
Last year was 300?
Was it that much?
200 or 300.
Yeah, it seems like it's going up every year. I think there was $9.5 million available, and that's split out between several different counties and cities. And we hope
Any
to.
questions for Phyllis once she's up? Thank you, Phyllis.
Thank you.
We're down to number 11, Resolution 2017-15, a resolution of the City of Laverne Board of Mayor and Aldermen to declare property owned by the city to be surplus to the needs and direct disposal of the same.
Mayor, this is all vehicles from the police department, vehicles that have been seized and awarded by the respective courts. And so this is just disposing of those vehicles at a public auction on GovDeals.
Number 12, motion to approve a renewal of property and casualty insurance with TML Risk Management Pool. Who's got that one?
I can speak a little bit about it. This is our annual renewal of our workers' compensation, as well as our liability insurance, and the third one is the property insurance. The total cost for the renewals this year is, let's see, it's $771,536, which is a little bit higher than last year, but it is a standard renewal that we do every year.
Okay. Number 13, this is a motion to approve transit use of agreement between the city of Motlow State Community College to use the library meeting room as a classroom.
Mayor, a couple of months ago, the president of Motlow had sent out a request to a lot of cities and folks that have various venues around Smyrna, Laverne, I'm not sure where all exactly. They were looking for classroom space. They were in a desperate need for classrooms for the upcoming year, starting in August, and also for the following year, because they're getting ready to build a new building that will hopefully be open in 2 years. If you recall, they also came and approached this board about some funding to help with that building. We looked to see if we had any spaces that could be used as classroom space, and the library, of course, does have those 2 meeting rooms over there. We met with Motlow over there, and they looked at the rooms. They liked the rooms. They thought it would be a good fit. So we've come up with this transient use agreement. They are willing to pay the city to rent those 2 rooms. I believe the hours that they're looking at during the day are between 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., starting in August and going through December for the fall semester, and then January through May for the spring semester. And the dates are all in here. And basically, they're going to pay us $4,000 per semester to rent those 2 rooms, basically. And so we wanted to bring this before you for your consideration. We think it would be a good way to help Motlow, and also bring more people into our library to use our library and facilities. And those rooms are typically not used a great deal during those times of the day. So it would be a good use for those rooms if the board wants to approve it.
Ms. Donna, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Of course, the library's philosophy is to enhance the quality of the community, and we feel like by partnering with Motlow, we're bringing some educational opportunities. Tennessee Promise is now in full force, where our graduating high schoolers can have 2 years of free tuition with the community college, and so Motlow has exploded. And we're honored to be a part of this. I feel like this will be a great place. It'll be a great partnership. The times, 8 a.m. until 1:30. Of course, it's a little earlier than what we open, But usually there is a director or an assistant director there between 7 and 7:30. So we will make sure that, we are there. I feel very comfortable with it, and I think it's going to bring those students into our library. We're going to encourage them to get library cards with us, do their studying afterwards. I just feel really comfortable with it. Any other questions?
I've got a couple. Now, in his presentation and in the other paperwork I've read on Motlow, they're self-sustained. I mean, they have laptops. So it's not
Yes.
like we have to do any kind of renovation. And
No.
they'll just be in there with their charged laptops, sitting there doing their studies.
Correct. What they are going to be bringing in the transient user agreement, the user, which will be Motlow, they're going to use our rooms, and they are going to provide projectors and whiteboards for the classroom usage, because at this time, as you know, we also partner with Rutherford County Adult Education, and we don't want to push them out in order to have Motlow in. We are very fortunate that we have the teen room, that the adult ed and our ESOL classes will be going into our teen room to do their classroom work at this time. And we have one projector that we have provided for them, and we have a whiteboard. So I'll be taking that into Rutherford County adult area. So Motlow has, said that they would provide the projectors and the whiteboards, and of course any laptops. We use a MiFi or a hotspot sometimes back in that room, because sometimes the Wi-Fi is a little bit iffy. I have let them know that they would need to provide that on their own.
And of course, the facilities across the hall, the bathrooms.
Correct.
Across the hall.
Yes, we have the 2 meeting rooms now that we have cleaned out meeting room 2, and looks really nice.
8 o'clock to 1:30, they're not going to, well, I know you can't speak for them, but did they mention that they won't be breaking for lunch? They're just they're going to do their session and then leave.
There's actually 2 classes. There's going to be an 8:30 to 10:30 and a 10:30 to 12:30 class. So they will be there. So actually, we'll be providing 4 classes a day, or space for 4 classes a day. And we have talked about parking, because we're talking about a lot of cars coming in. Motlow has agreed that they would use the parking lot behind the library, over by the ball field, by multipurpose building.
Okay.
There's some areas to park there. We do have, we fill up pretty big on some of our story times, as you all have seen, our parking lot. I think we have 110 parking spaces at this time.
One other question to Evan. Evan, was it necessary for you to look at the transit agreement, and are you okay with it?
I did. It's fine.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody else have any questions? I have one question. It has no concern with this, but that driver's license triage, how's it coming along? I ain't heard anything from it in a few days.
I haven't heard any more about the kiosks. Again, we would welcome the opportunity to find a place in the library for that. I think that would be another service to the community that we could provide. But at this point, there's no other word.
Thank you, Donna, doing a
You're
great job.
welcome.
I'm sorry, I got one more question. That
Okay.
rental, is that going to go to, is that the library budget, or is it going to be in the general, since it's renting city space? Where does that 4,000 go?
It'd be general fund.
General? Okay.
Thank you, Donna. Everything looks good at the library. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're down to 14. Motion to approve bid for environmental hazardous material service. Felicia.
Yes, sir. You're looking, on May the 2nd, we did a bid for the environmental hazardous materials bid. This is something that we don't use all the time, but we do need to have a bid just in case. We need to have a company in place. When we did this, we only had one company that their bid was the only one that was fully completed. So the others had to be rejected. That company, Premier Protective Services, went before the LEPC committee on June the 5th, and the LEPC committee voted to recommend that the Board of Mayor and Aldermen approve this for the first year with the possibility of the 2 years if it works well for both parties.
Any questions for Felicia?
Or for either one of the fire chiefs, since
Moving on, number 15, a motion to approve the GSA purchase for a fire equipment reserve pumper truck.
yes, sir. This is a reserve truck, but bear in mind it's used quite a bit. They're used. We did get, when we bought, I want to remind everybody that when we bought the fire department, that some of the equipment was aging. We had hoped that they would last longer than they've lasted, but that goes with it, you know. But this truck is it's actually a demo truck that's going to be demoed all across the state of Florida, and the regular price would be $600,000, and we're going to be able to get it for $475,000. But we will not be able to get this truck before October. Now, if we were ordering a brand new one and paying $600,000, we would have to wait about 18 months for it to be built. But this is a soot pumper.
I do have a question. Bruce, the information that I requested and you sent over to me, did you forward that to the other board members?
No, I did not.
If you don't mind doing so.
It's in the package tonight, but I'll be sure to get that out.
And I did, I think we asked, yeah, Ricky has a detailed use of this pumper that we did attach to the memo as well.
So just a kind of a little bit of background, a little explanation. When Ricky first called me, Chief McCormick, sorry, when you first called me about it, I had some questions for you. We exchanged some emails, got the information that I needed. I was able to review that information. It seems that we've spent an awful lot of money on repairs on this vehicle in the last 2 years, and it's been out of service for a lot of those days in the last 2 years.
Yes, ma'am.
And so sometimes when I ask for information, it doesn't necessarily mean, as someone has assigned to me, that I'm against it. It means I need more information, because I feel like it's my fiduciary responsibility in a big expenditure like this to be able to understand what the need is, explain it to anyone that asks me about it, and justify yes or no, however it comes down. In reviewing that information, I have learned that that is a desperate need that you have.
Yes, ma'am.
So I know it's kind of annoying sometimes to compile the information that I'm asking for, but I'm very analytical, and I never just ask to give you busy work. I always ask, because sometimes that background, that information proves to me and shows me and allows me to explain to all of the constituents in the town the dire need that paperwork proved to me that you are in for this piece of equipment.
Yes, ma'am. I would like to clarify some things just for paperwork purposes, because when we first had this last truck to go down in response to a call, we did throw as you saw, I included a email back from John Rutledge, who keeps up with our finances in-house for the fire department. Now, we don't have everything that finance keeps for us, but we try to keep pretty accurate records so that we're not overspending and things like that. So that first email that had come back out to y'all, those numbers were off just a little, because he did run through them very quickly. He didn't go through our expenditures on oil purchase and stuff like that. So we did go back, and if you noticed in the new numbers had changed. One went down a little, one went up a little bit. And part of that too was from the changeover from private to municipal. Those trucks' numbers changed, but one of them changed trucks. So when they did that, they got skewed. So we give you some new information back on that. So I wanted everybody to understand, if you see two different numbers, The spreadsheet is very accurate, and for the publics, I know it's very, very, very hard to see, but it was because we put so many trucks on this sheet. But that very first line, and for the board and for the public, the very first line there is engine one. It's currently the truck that went down en route to a structure fire a few weeks ago. It's in need of a $13,000 transmission. That truck's 17 years old, has 55,000 miles on it. As you can see through that spreadsheet, you can see how much drastic difference there is. Anything that you see that's red is a repair. Anything that you see that's green is preventive maintenance. And then the ones that you see that have blue marks on them, those were due to accidents. That could be anything from, we had one truck there, I think that's actually 2027, a bay door spring broke and come down and hit the roof of one of the new trucks. The $778, we came out good on that one. One of Chief Walker's cars ran into the back of one of our new trucks, and it totaled his patrol car, but it only cost us $778 for some aluminum to be fixed. So my trucks are tougher than your trucks.
What about the mailbox?
We won't talk about the mailbox that we hit ourselves. We'll leave that one for the mayor to talk about later, because he loves to beat me up.
Y'all hit the mailbox twice, didn't you?
Mayor.
The same one mailbox?
Since then, we have 3 P.O. boxes now, because we don't think that the trucks can get into the post office. So we have done that to keep from tearing them up any worse. But you're exactly right. It wasn't I won't say that it wasn't a difficult task to pull these numbers out, but a lot of it was because it was old and new. But as you can see, if you scroll all the way across the page there, Glenn, as you're scrolling across, the small ones that you see in the middle, that's the new fleet. They've been in service about 2.5 years. And as you can see, most of what's been done to them has been preventive maintenance. It is costly for preventive maintenance. A fire truck's a little different than just your car. As you can see, we have damaged some of the new trucks. We won't talk about that again either. But, and then you get down here to again, you see it's running off the page again. That is what we considered our second backup truck. That was actually, and I have Chief Luffman from Mount Juliet Fire and Rescue here tonight, and Rodney Ballington from Cumberland, who does our maintenance agreement and all, and also deals with Sutton sales, if anybody has any questions of them. Chief Luffman definitely can speak to what not having a backup apparatus will do to you, because if you remember, that truck was loaned to him because his entire new fleet had a recall. So it does happen, even with brand new trucks.
It does.
But as you can see again, as you said, considerable number of differences. New trucks, 5,000, 4,000, 1,800. Old truck, 29,000. That truck is 22 years old. At 25 years, they have to go out of service anyway. So 3 more years, we've got to do something with this truck anyway.
And almost $100,000, not quite.
Oh,
But
yeah.
almost $100,000.
Yes.
And I think the next page, Bruce, probably
Right.
has, I think I asked him for the dates of that it was out of
Yes, pop
service,
up,
the number of
I
dates it
think
was
you
out of
have one there
service.
that has all the apparatus listed with the,
It's the previous page.
is it the previous page? If you look at this one, as you can see, the 2012 at the top, we added it in there, but that's an air and light truck. It really doesn't, we fill in occasionally for that truck for the rescues, but in all actuality, this engine that just went down is generally what we put in place of our rescues, because it is able to carry rescue tools. So at this point, we don't really have a truck to put back in that spot. And I'm sure somebody has called today and told you that one of our rescue trucks was probably seen being towed down to Cumberland. It has a fuel pump out on it. Those are just things, even with new equipment, you can't help.
Maintenance items,
Fuel
that happens.
pumps and alternators, I don't care what you do.
That's why I wanted to break down. And I know it was a
Yes,
lot of
ma'am.
information to compile, but it was very helpful in making a decision.
Yes, ma'am. But as you can see here, again, 55,000 miles is a lot of miles. And for the people who are not aware, though, the 55,000 miles put on both of those 2 trucks were not all put on by the private fire or the city. Those trucks were purchased used when private fire bought them, which meant they were outdated for whatever department had them then, probably because of their call volume had increased. And they were starting to cost them. But at that time, when these trucks were bought, our call volume was 600 or 800 calls a year. We're probably going to go over 4,000 calls this year. So that really, really, really beats up a truck. So I hope that compiling all of these things helps everybody understand the need that we have there. I've even talked with the mayor a little bit about a second truck. What do we need to do to it one time and get it over? Not a recommendation, and I explained to him, one, we don't have housing for it. It would have to sit out under the shed, which I would not want to put a brand new piece of apparatus out under a shed. So we don't really have the need right at the moment, but we desperately have the need for the one. And again, luckily there is a demo coming off the line in 2 weeks. It would be able to, I think Rodney said, it would be able to come through Laverne mid-July for everyone to look at it and see it as it's headed on down towards Florida. It would be shown till around the middle of October. It would go back to Ohio, be lettered and striped for the city to match our coloring. And then, of course, we would go up, do a final inspection, and it would come back and be put in service. Ordering a new truck is about 18 months, roughly, of getting a new truck. So obviously that wouldn't work. But I hope that this information is helpful. In fact, we're probably going to put some of these things up on our website for the public to be able to see, because it's really, it explains a lot.
It really does.
You know, we did that the very first year of the contract fire being gone and being bought out, because the public had a right to know, well, what are we saving or gaining, or what are we doing? And I made these up and carried them to Old Timers Day on big blown up boards. So these are things we're probably going to start doing that with our community as well, so that they can see more of what's going on. But I hope that this gets enough information to the board to make a good decision.
I've got a question
Yes,
for
sir.
you, Chief. Okay. Okay, we've had commentary as to the situation with the reserve vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way, as Chief of Police, that you can guarantee?
Chief of Fire.
As a chief, that you
He deals with the horses.
Is there any way that you can guarantee as a chief of the fire department, even with the new vehicles, that those vehicles are going to be able to pull out of your fire department and get to where it needs to be with no problems?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there any way, as the chief of the fire department, that you feel that we have overburdened you by asking you for the information so we can make an informed decision? For asking you for this information?
Have you overburdened me?
Have we overburdened you, or
No, sir, I wouldn't say overburdened,
or
but I would
delayed
say.
the process in any way for asking information that we need to make an informed decision?
Have we delayed some projects due to the fact of doing this project for a week? Yes, sir.
No. Have we delayed the project in any way for asking you the information we need to make this decision?
No, sir,
on
not
our
at all,
next
because I
date?
had to come before the board
Okay.
tonight.
My next question is do you understand, as a board that has been placed here to be to spend the city's taxpayers' dollars in ordering this information, do you understand? Do you feel that we should make the decision as a informed board, or should we make it as a knee-jerk board? Should we be informed as to what we're buying, why we're buying, or do we need to do it because we just need to look good for anyone who possibly is coming up for an election or anything? Do we need to take care
No,
of the
sir,
city, or we need to
I
get
would not
votes?
say that the board ever needs to make a knee-jerk unless it's an emergency purchase.
Thank you.
If I had 5 trucks down, I would have just called and asked for a truck to be brought to me and then asked for your forgiveness.
Okay. And
So-
I would,
so no,
I would
sir, I
expect
understand.
that,
Yes,
because
sir.
it's your duty
Yes, sir.
to take care of the citizens
Yes,
of this town also.
And it's even as I told you the other day when you called graciously, and I appreciate it, you calling and telling me that it had been brought off of the consent agenda to be discussed. You probably just beat my call back to the city administrator of asking for it to be pulled off anyway, because to me it does deserve a very good look. Obviously, I don't want anybody now or a week from now or 10 years from now to come back and go, well, Chief McCormick seems like he spends an awful lot of money just because he wants to. I want people to understand, I can assure you this folder will be put together and be kept together in a binder for anyone who has questions, because I'm sure they will, regardless of what your decision is. So no, sir, I don't feel that way at all.
Thank you.
Any further questions for Ricky? Well, we don't get these by October, so whatever repair needs to be done to the other trucks, we're gonna have to do them.
And that has been a discussion. One, we're gonna surplus them, no doubt. I mean, there's no need in them. The one was towed to Cumberland. It's sitting there awaiting someone to sign for the repair. I can't promise you that even putting them on gov deals will even get the 13,000 of the transmission back, but obviously we can get that truck back in order to use it, for one. I'm not gonna do anything to the other one. To me, $25,000 in that truck that's needs a I don't think we would get it back before the new one could get here. This one we could probably get back in 2 or 3 weeks. I would ask that we go ahead and do the $13,000 repair, because that also will help us bring the value back in trying to sell it. Obviously, nobody's gonna buy a truck that needs a transmission. You know, I know I wouldn't. We have tried to make these 2 pieces of equipment, and that was one reason we kept 2. We knew they weren't gonna last a long time, but we were hoping we'd get 5 years out of them. And some people have asked. I've had other people call and ask that know what's going on with this. And I will say that the question was, you bought $5.5 million worth of trucks, why didn't you buy 6? Well, one reason was because it would have been nice even if the fleet that we had purchased from Private Fire would have sufficed where we could have bought 1 or 2 trucks every other year, so they were spread out over some time. We had to go to bond to spend $5.5 million on a fleet at one time. I don't even care. I don't like the fact that they're all gonna have to be bought again at the same time. So we were trying to get the 5 years out of this one so that we had a 5-year gap between the newer ones and this one, so that we can kind of start swapping out like the police department does with their patrol cars. But as luck goes, obviously we made 3.5 years, not 5. So, but hopefully. But yes, I would ask, and that was a question that, you know, I guess Bruce was gonna make the decision on, but we were gonna lean on y'all as well, you know, to get the blessing to go ahead and make that transmission repair on that one truck and try to get it back in service, because there's a dire need. 2 nights ago, we had a working structure fire that we were on for over 4 hours, and we tied every piece of equipment we had up all, you know, for 4 hours. We didn't even call in a second shift to come in because I didn't have a truck to put them in. So I would ask that we do that and try to get it fixed as quickly as possible, and at least get it back until we can do something on this purchase. And I hope that answers everything. And no, I did not mind at all. Was it a lot of work?
Yeah, I'm
was
sure it was.
Definitely a lot of work. And
Chief Walker can probably tell you, I can ask him for a lot of information about some dispatchers.
but it's not every day somebody asks you for $475,000 either.
You know, that saying, to whom much is given, much is required. And that's,
Right.
you know, I have to do my homework.
And y'all definitely know how I
unfortunately that
am. I'm very blunt, I'm very forward. And as I said, sir, if I felt there was a desperate need, I would have just called Rodney and said, find me a rental. And I would have just asked for your forgiveness tonight. So that's kind of where we're at. Am I anxious to rectify the problem? Yes. Do I feel like I've been abused over this? No. Anything else?
So, since we talked the last time, that $13,000 transmission just came up. Because I thought that...
No, sir, we have one truck that needs a rear main seal, but it also, at the same time, when they go in to do that, it needs an overhaul, and that could be from 15 to 25. That's the one that we've kind of babied and just keep adding oil to. This other truck we're talking about, the transmission actually went down on it two weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, I think. So,
okay.
That's the 13,000. That's the one we're asking to be repaired.
I think it was June the 6th.
June 6th, I'm sorry.
So that was prior to our...
Yes, sir.
I mean, after our...
It was just right after the other meeting.
Right after our talk.
Yes,
Because
sir.
we were looking at using that to at least put that for your painting and your signage. as surplus, what you get off surplus for your signage.
Yes, sir.
So that's probably out.
You mean
You
on
think
the,
you'll still be able to put the Laverne logo?
it's all encumbered in the cost
in
of the
that.
truck? Yes, sir.
Okay.
This truck's spec'd with 24 gold leaf lettering. We don't use that. We use vinyl lettering. So the cost is built in. The 475 is everything. In fact, the equipment that is reusable and newer, the tools that are mounted on our 2 current trucks, a lot of that we're pulling off to put on this truck to reduce cost.
Okay.
So we're actually using some of that. Both of those trucks have brand new hose. We're not gonna buy brand new hose. We're gonna take it off of those trucks and use it. But there are a few other hand tools, axes and things like that that are wore out on these other trucks as well. They come in this price as well.
Thank you, Ricky.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Down to number 16, appoint or remove board members. We got one vacancy, the time expired on the library board. That's Floyd Dennis. Bruce,
Mayor,
you
this
talked to
is-
him?
This is Kristen Costanzo's
Oh,
position
Kristen Costanza,
on
okay.
the library board.
That's right, that's right. I'm getting ahead of myself. And she's removed, so we have to put somebody else on that board and probably be the new, possibly could be the new,
I've received one application,
Okay.
which I will mail to everybody. I just got it today. And then we're still accepting applications for that.
okay. And then B is the Economic Development Advisory Committee. That's Floyd Dennis. His term's expired, and you talked to him, and he wishes to stay on.
Yes.
But then again, we got another applicant, and that's Lance Lee. We've got 2 applicants for 1 position, so we need to decide. The library board won't be on Thursdays unless we get
Well,
all.
I do have one application,
Okay,
which
one
I'll email
application,
out
okay.
to everybody.
So both of these will probably be on there. All right. And then we're down to 17. This is a discussion item for office space for fire department administration. Uh-oh, you're doubling up on me, and that's Clark.
Ricky stepped out, so I'll take this if it's okay with you. Over the last couple of years, we have seen a growth in the department from the private department to the municipal. Growth is good, but it does have its difficulties. In the last last couple of months, we've been surveying the area, looking for office space. Office space for myself, which I work out of my truck, and so does the chief. Along with that, we had new hires, which we selected those Tuesday for our admin assistant, and also today for our life and safety officer. Temporarily, obviously there's no room at any of these other stations, and so we sought out to look for rental space, which we have found out that rental space is pretty high. Give you an example, $1,000 a month. However, we have to go in and provide all of the construction to one office space off of Waldron Road, which would be very expensive. And then we also have another issue, another rental property that we looked here in Laverne that was $2,200 a month. However, they do the building. That's not counting utilities. To save money, I went and ventured off into the Civic Center just to see what could be done there to save money. However, we do know that there is an interest in historical value there. I looked at it as an economical savings. However, I do value and respect the historical value there as well, and rightly so. So we bring that to your attention that we are out there looking for those spaces, and it's become very difficult. We are faced with
a future headquarters. As you know, about Station 1, we've grown out of that. We had to do basically emergency repair to the slab that's in front of the station, concrete for that station, because it has came up to the point where we were afraid we were going to blow tires as we backed into the bay. It was that bad. So I guess I come to you for guidance. I come to you for guidance as far as the property or rental or office space for us, which we greatly appreciate the personnel that you allowed us to hire. It's very much needed, and they will work diligently to do their jobs and do it correctly. I need somewhere to put them.
I know me and you talked for months. You're aware of my wants. But
I've located a few pieces of property that would be great places for our headquarters. I'll just be honest with you. They would be a great investment to the city. And so it's kind of a temporary thing as far as the offices are concerned, but we let them look into the future for our headquarters. That can contribute to all of it.
So I have a question, and I haven't asked you guys prior to this meeting, so it might be the dumbest question ever. But
no.
What about the police precinct down on Fergus Road, down by Station 3? Is that big enough for available?
Well, we looked at that.
Did you? Okay.
We've been all over the city.
Hey, sounds like it.
We've been there. That is, number one is it's not large enough. Number two is that there are some other issues with that. Right now it's a storage thing. We have looked at, I've looked everywhere. I even thought about a concession stand at the park. I mean, right now, we meet at the Kroger parking lot sitting in our vehicles. But we take a lot of time here at City Hall. But we are growing, but that's not a bad thing. Growth is not a bad thing. I'm proud of the growth that we've shown here, not only in our personnel, not only in our training, but not only in our apparatus, but not only in our stations, to better protect the citizens and the most valuable thing here in this town. I'm looking for you for guidance.
Well, I think I've gave you my opinion, so you might get the rest of them.
What is your opinion?
Yeah.
Well, my opinion, I think we need to build a new Station 1.
I agree.
In the Station 1, and I hate to see the Civic Auditorium be converted because it's really used.
And Mayor, we looked at that, and the reason being it was an economical value. However, we do and respect it's a historical value as well. We already own the property. It's a space that we could utilize for temporary offices. I was looking at the value per se, and try to be the great stewards of money for the citizens. It's difficult to swallow $2,000 a month in rental. So, and you are right. I really believe that we can try to do a temporary fix for the offices, but we know that our long-term solution will be a headquarters with offices. And I think that we need to start that process now because it will take us a while. My experience with government and building a $1.4 million station myself prior to me leaving the county, it's a process.
If we
and
started on
it takes
today,
now.
If we started on a
Correct.
Station 1 today, you're looking at probably 3 years for y'all to move in on it.
It's a
It ain't like
long,
we're gonna get one tomorrow, but
long
I'd
process.
love to get a new Station 1 somewhere on National Highway.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question on 17, discussion
No, no, 18, discussion senior citizen center.
Yes, ma'am.
I hope you're not thinking about.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Didn't even cross my mind.
I'll be ready to claw
Did
your
not
eyes
ever cross my mind.
out. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm afraid that's what we're gonna run in with the Civic Center.
I believe
You
so
know,
too. You know, there's a lot of value here. I do believe that's the case. I've seen it. I've seen people's interest in historical all over this county. You know, I see it down Main Street in Murfreesboro to Old Nashville Highway in Laverne to Murfreesboro Road. Historical value in Smyrna at the Front Street railroad tracks. And we need that. We need that history.
Historic value is good, but citizens ain't got but 2 buildings they can acquire.
That is true.
Building behind here of the Civic, and I hate to make it down to 1 building.
Now, with that being said, we hope that this is temporary. I mean, it is going to be temporary as far as office space. My question is,
we just need to build a Station 1 with a administration department.
and we do. My problem is what we're going to do right now.
I have a huge backyard, you can put it there.
Amen. Hey, our trucks work pretty good, believe it or not. If you need it, I got it. However, we do need some help in finding the solution.
We're renting the library for Motlow. You know, and it's possible if we wouldn't renting that, leasing that to Motlow, it may be that they could use it. How much money are we getting from Motlow?
Well, over 2 years, it'll be $16,000.
$16,000.
However, there's a big difference, because Motlow's only gonna be using this half a day.
Right.
Whereas Office Space would obviously tie it up, 24 hours a day for however long.
Yeah.
So there's a big difference there as far as allowing public
Right.
use of those library meeting rooms. I think what you've got to consider, if we're paying $2,200 a month for rental space, it's $26,000 per year. If you're looking at 2 to 3 years out, you're between $50,000 and $75,000 roughly, just for rental, which you're just throwing money away. Obviously, with the Civic, we own the property, we own the building. You may have to put, 10, 15, I don't know how many $1,000s to build your temporary offices, but in 2 to 3 years, that can be removed and it could be used again as a rental space again. So you look at the cost difference, 15 to 20,000 tops, hopefully, versus 75 plus $1,000, over 2 to 3 years. Which one is the more reasonable use of that property or the taxpayer funds? So my recommendation would be to use the Civic Auditorium, but that's just my opinion.
How many people are you putting in there, Chief?
4,
So that space would be large enough.
5. I think there was another individual too that needed office space.
Well, office space is critical, citywide in all of our buildings. We've had that discussion several times at retreats and things like that. So, we are in a critical situation all across the city. I think they went over and looked at Civic and feel that they could comfortably put 5 offices in there, 4 which we would need right off the bat, and then, maybe somebody else could go in there that's needed, but that's down the road. We haven't got there yet.
And Bruce, I may have misunderstood you. I did lay out 4 inside that building.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 4.
Could y'all use the 2 meet, is the 2 rooms over at the library, would that be sufficient? Is that too small?
I have not gone over to the library because one of the things was raised up that there was an issue on that. So
I think Donna's gonna
Tell you what.
sure.
Please do.
Go that way, I'm not gonna get you up. We would love to share because we really like them, but we don't really want them over there because, and I said that wrong.
I know what you mean.
We want you there if it's on fire.
Right.
We also use those 2 rooms for the community. Tonight, I have some people in here from Lake Forest Estates. We use those community rooms at night. We just got to the point where we have the 2 rooms. I would share my office with them, but I really don't think it's feasible for the office space because, again, we would be taken away from the community. I would do what needs to be done, but I do want to know, you all to know that the community uses it.
Just a thought.
Because it would tie up both of those classrooms to put 4 offices in.
Right.
And it's not just for the classrooms at night. We have programs that are going on. We use those rooms quite often.
Miss Donna evicted us before we ever got there.
It's because your radios are too loud for the library.
Okay, I'll back away. Mayor, did you have any questions, though? You know I would do what has to be done.
Yeah.
And that would
You
be,
know,
I would share my office first.
You know, probably, we'll probably go have to put them over to Civic, probably have no choice. But I just hate to do it, but, you know, we gotta do what we gotta do, you know.
And I understand that, and like I said, if it was any way feasible that we felt those rooms could be used, you know me, I have a pretty good heart. I would do it in a heartbeat, but no.
What
Kick
is
to the curb
what's
again.
What is your square footage need for your 4 offices? Estimate, rough estimate.
I think we laid them out, 12 by 12 offices over there with a hallway.
Say again?
12 by 12 offices,
Okay, so a 12 by 12,
which is,
and again, what is that on, what is the
What is it about
substation?
One of the Civic,
No, the police substation?
the substation,
Yeah.
it's so cut up in there, I don't,
you can't get, it's rough. It's not even that big.
Well, it's not the most secure building either.
No.
And in bad storms, you know, I wouldn't want to be in there, you know.
Ms. Green, we're not coming to this senior center.
You're not gonna use.
No,
that.
ma'am, no, ma'am, no, ma'am,
But
no,
I'm
ma'am.
saying, but, I mean, if we're gonna, if, back to the 75,000 versus putting money into what we own, wouldn't it be better if we could add a hotspot, renovate, security? What's the money, what's the savings there?
The only renovation you'd want to do to that is destroy it and build a new building.
But
Yes,
wouldn't
sir.
it be better to do that as opposed to?
I don't know what
I'm
that
still looking
cost
at the
would be.
$22,000, I mean, the $2,200 rent. That's a waste.
one thing that we did look at, and I don't know, I apologize, I had a hammer try to drag me out to the parking lot when I went out to greet them. One thing that we did look at, if we wanted to do a small upgrade, Station 2 has enough room up on the hill on Walden Road for us to add the needed office space on the opposite side of the bays, if we wanted to do so.
I mean, I haven't seen y'all's renderings, so whatever you're talking about, I don't
Sir,
know what you're
I-
talking
and
about.
I'll be honest with you, Alderman Jones. I've been doing this for about 2 months. As far as here, there, everywhere, Mayor, Bruce. That's been a pet project of mine. I'll be honest with you, Mayor. Precinct was our very first place we went.
Say again?
The precinct was
Okay.
the very first place that we went to.
Okay.
We've looked at every piece of property the city owns. We have been many discussions as far as different places here, there, everywhere. I'll just be honest with you, I'll be interested to see if, for other ideas.
I mean, I'd like to see what you've done, and then I'd like to go from there. I mean, of course, I'd have to yield. You're going to be the subject matter expert on it. I'm not going
And I
to
appreciate that.
adjust. I mean, I'm not going to try to argue that, but my thing is, I would be more amenable to something we own. Because when you said rent, and you said $2,200 a month, that's
cringe.
ridiculous.
I agree.
I cringe.
For I don't care
and
how
that was-
short a time, that's ridiculous.
And that's how we came up with the Civic Center. That, I'll be honest with you, that is how we came up with the Civic Center,
Rick-
was due to cost and ownership.
How much did we spend, when we built on the Station 3, we had to we went over the limit, we had the fire sprinkler.
About $150,000.
Well, see, that's, might be what we run in Station 2, we might have the fire sprinkler. And that'd be, how much did we spend on Station 3?
Probably with the sprinkler system, about $180,000.
I'm afraid that's
The
what we're
biggest
gonna run
majority
into.
of that was the sprinkler system.
Yeah, I imagine that's what we're gonna run into on Station 2.
On Station 2, yes, sir.
What's the time factor?
We looked at an addition onto Station 2. We have looked at, you know, we've looked at many, many, many options.
I know me and Chris, we beat our
We
heads
battled.
for a long time, and we just can't come with no, it keeps coming to the Civic, and I say,
I think the biggest issue is the two new jobs that we just filled was to bring services to the public easier. One, we're gonna be issuing our own permits now and taking that off the records in the police department. We're gonna also, we're doing the building inspections now, the fire code. Those need to have a central place for someone to set those up. So a centrally located place for our administrative assistant to be is the reason that we're trying to look at the center of town.
Many times they call and we're not there. We're out in training. We're out on, there's several questions, and then they'll have to call back. And we're customer service. Believe it or not, we're in the customer service business. And so, as the water department, as the police department, or anybody else, we're in the customer service business. We have multiple phone calls. These citizens, they need their questions answered.
In fact, we get so many phone calls now that
Miss Skinner had to call twice yesterday just to get a hold of me. And the poor guy hung up on her accidentally. So, you know, that person is going to answer those phones. I just need a place to put her so she can answer it. And I'll need Glenn to wire those so those phones can get an extension. We'll worry about that later.
So, in hearing all these comments today, I'm just thinking of a peaceful medium solution here. And what I'm hearing is that you don't want to destroy the Civic Auditorium or the Civic Center as a historical landmark.
no, not that, it just, not just that, it's rented a lot, and I know a lot of the citizens gonna be disappointed when we take one of their rental places away, you know. And another thing, if y'all get into the Civic, the urgent to getting another place is gonna be kind of put on the second burner. And, you know, me and you talked, and I'd like to, you know, and it's one thing I'm gonna talk later on, you know, we need a Station 1 and build a new Station 1 and put the administration building in there. If y'all get into Civic, you know, the need is gone, you know, the
The need
urgency
is
over
not
with.
necessarily gone. As you know, we're growing on that station. Station 1's got to, something's got to happen. I mean, it's just bottom line, and I think you agree with it. I need a timeline. I'll just be honest and I'll be straightforward. And if we don't start today, it continues to march out year by year. We're 2 years out now. If we started working on this now, we're 2 years out right at it. We have to find a piece of land. We've got to get engineers, and we've got to get blueprints, and we've got to make sure that it meets planning, and we have to meet all these other kind of things before we ever even think about breaking ground. We got to have probably a public hearing on it, probably.
Well, you got
I'm not
funding,
sure how that.
you know, you got to find the funding for it and
Got to
everything.
find the
It's a long
funding for it.
process.
So we're planners, and that's where I'm coming to you on that part of it. At the same time, I have a temporary problem. Our long-term solution is a headquarters. I will tell you that right now, and that is my goal.
And we're not going to back off
Our
of that
temporary
either.
solution to our 4 personnel, including me, is office space right now. But we feel like we need your help and some ideas, some, you know, where we need
We
to
really
go.
need to decide something the next meeting because
I agree.
we don't need to throw it into another month.
Yes, sir.
We need to put something on the books to vote on for, not Tuesday, it'd be Thursday, week for the
And
night.
I'll apologize to you for keeping you here tonight, but I do appreciate you because we have been lengthy at the fire department.
Glad to do it.
Thank
I
you.
do have one more, and Chris and I haven't even discussed this. The 5,000 square foot rule for sprinkler,
Yes, sir.
if we don't increase the footprint of the building, we don't have to sprinkle, correct?
5,000 square feet regardless. The building is 5,000 square feet.
Okay. Let me word this. Our bays are considered part of that square footage now, correct? Okay. So if we could build out inside of that existing footprint, we don't have to sprinkle.
The footprint itself is 5,000 square feet.
Well, it's not now. It's not now. It's just under. It was done that way.
No, it would not be fire. How many square foot is it now? It's pretty close.
It's pretty close, but I do know it was held under.
Which building are you talking about?
Station
two.
Up on Water Road. Because there's room in there for 2 offices to be built. Not 4, but myself and Chris have been in SUVs for a year. He's been in an SUV for 2 years for an office. If we're talking about trying to move ahead with the Station 1, we can light where we like. We stay in the boardroom here, in the conference room here today. The biggest need is for those 2 new people to have somewhere to have 2 designated, more so than myself and Chris. We could probably put 2 offices inside of that footprint and not cause any congestion in that building. And our crews here in the city could probably do that.
My chief complaint on it would be if it's going along that ground. I would rather it go somewhere that we own as opposed to rent. I just don't want to rent anything. That would be my biggest complaint.
I mean, we're always gonna have the need for the offices, even in the fire department.
Hey, I would have my office, I'd have been run out of.
Mayor,
2 of them
we
already.
couldn't fit both Ricky and I in there.
My closet's
I
not
couldn't
big
even
enough.
sit down in your chair today.
I really do, I really, we have a closet here, sir, that's bigger than your office.
Well, I thought I'd offer anyway.
Well, we appreciate it. Can we have a cup of coffee?
Not in my office.
Oh, me.
Myself and Chris are very versatile, we can do whatever we need to do, but those other 2 people, we really, that's the concern. Is getting
Prior-
a home to put them in.
Prior to next Tuesday, I think we do have
Be Thursday.
or Thursday, next Thursday. My phone will be on. Now, I just want to make a disclaimer, I just accidentally deleted all of my contacts. When I call and ask who you are, that's what happened. I did that about 30 minutes prior to me getting here.
If we
So-
could do something and save the Civic, I think everybody would be happy.
And I have already, I promise you, I have already received phone calls about it. And
About,
about us going into Civic Auditorium. And I think it's a very feasible thing to do, and I assured these were citizens that it was a temporary fix, that it could be put back just as it is now.
Absolutely.
Once we were out. But their concern was about, like the mayor just said, well, once you get in there, we'll never get you out.
well, in all fairness, I mean, I think the entire board is aware that
Right.
Station 1 really needs, the best thing for it is a bulldozer.
And I think they were leaning more towards, even if you got us out, the city would just put somebody else in there in office.
Who would we hate that bad? Like, that building is that bad. It's terrible.
So that's where we're at.
Sorry I couldn't come up with a better plan off
So we
the
need
fly.
to, put something down for us to vote on for Thursday.
Well,
because
it'll
we-
be,
We don't need to.
I don't know if
drag
I
this
can
thing out no
recommend,
more.
to be honest with
Can
you.
you, since you stated your priority are your administrative personnel, I mean, you 2 are in your vehicles, and I don't mean to put y'all on the back burner, but I mean, that sounds good as far as putting them in that footprint within the 5,000, so you can do that and take care of them. Run the lines, pay the money for that. But
About parking.
Oh, yeah.
Extended that out, so a little bit more in the back.
There's hardly any parking at Station 2, so that's an issue to consider.
We can get the city workers and Garland out there to look, Garland probably look about the parking. I'm volunteering this, is that all right? We will talk about it on the court bill. We will bring something back to you with your packet.
Okay.
No, I could depend on you guys to stir the pot, you know, before you leave.
Every time.
Every time.
Every time. Any other questions? I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris, I know you have beat your head on the wall.
Yes, sir.
And mine too.
Yes, sir.
All right, now we're down to number 18. This is the discussion Senior Citizen Center. Felix?
I had asked Bruce to put this on the agenda. There's been a lot of questions and discussions recently about the senior center, how it's funded, how it's operated. And I just want to take a few minutes to kind of clarify some things and hopefully clear up some questions and answers that anyone might have. The senior center originally started in a little white house close to the library as a nonprofit organization. Sometime around 1999 or 2000, the center approached the city and asked for help. The facility was deteriorating, participation was increasing, and they needed another place to continue as a center. The city agreed to provide them with a building at no charge, currently known as the Senior Citizen Center on Stones River Road. Along with the building, the city also agreed to provide an annual donation to the center, property insurance, capital items as needed. We've replaced roof, vehicles, equipment, etc. The senior center is a separate special revenue fund of the city of Laverne, and along with donations from the city, they also receive funding from GNRC in Rutherford County. The senior center is no way a part of or a department of the general fund of the city of Laverne. A few years after the center became a special revenue fund of the center had enough in annual donations to support hiring staff. At that time, a director and 3 part-time employees were hired. The employees were actually on the city's payroll, but the senior center special revenue fund reimburses the city for these wages and benefits, and they continue to do that up to today. A portion of the taxpayer dollars from the general fund are donated per the budget approved annually to the senior fund. As it's not feasible for the general fund to fully fund the senior center only provides a service to a select group of citizens. Therefore, the city of Laverne must be mindful in how it spends its taxpayer dollars. The center could possibly receive more funding from additional grants if it were to become a nonprofit. With the center being a special revenue of the fund of the city, this sometimes reduces the eligibility to receive grants. Grants are more apt to go to the nonprofits first than a center that is supplemented by a municipality. If the senior center ever wanted to obtain their 501c3 and become a nonprofit, the city of Laverne will continue, upon budget approval, to donate funds on an annual basis. Could the city of Laverne donate more money to the general fund, from the general fund to the senior special revenue fund? The answer is yes, but this would be taking away taxpayer dollars from other needs such as fire and police. The center currently operates with 1 full-time director and 2 part-time employees. The 3rd part-time employee position was eliminated a few years ago, and the hours were given to the 2 part-time employees. This brought their hours to around 25 to 30 hours per week. There was a recent request to add a full-time person to the senior center or to convert a part-time person into a full-time position. The center is only open 24 hours a week, and the center's current financial situation would not support this addition. Benefits alone would have cost about $20,000. Current regulations under the Affordable Care Act have changed how employers classify full-time versus part-time employees. The federal law under the Affordable Care Act requires the employer to offer health insurance to any employee that works an average of 30 hours or more per week or an average of 130 or more hours per month. These new laws went into effect in 2014. The 2 years preceding that, 14-15 and 15-16, employers were offered they were called transition years and were offered a relief from the provisions for employers. 2016 and 2017 requires us to comply with the Affordable Care Act to the fullest extent in regards to how we classify full and part-time employees. These new regulations require employers to look at all employees and make sure that anyone that works an average of 30 or more hours per week are covered under the employer's health care plan. With these new laws and regulations that have been mandated to us in the past 2 years, the city is forced to monitor part-time hours accordingly. This has been construed as, by many as retaliation. The city would like to reassure all employees and citizens that this is indeed not retaliation. Employees that are hired for part-time must only work part-time hours as no benefits are budgeted for those positions. The Senior Center Special Revenue Fund is audited annually. It's actually audited twice annually. Once it's audited by GNRC, and then again it's audited by our auditors, Uri Howell and Associates. The City of Laverne truly supports the Senior Center and appreciates very much the compassion, time, and effort the employees have put into the center. In the end, we won't all agree on how the center should be funded or operated, but we must be mindful that the annual donations provided by the City of Laverne to the Senior Center Fund is taxpayer dollars, and taxpayer dollars should be spent with the best interests of all citizens. The Senior Center donation provided by the city is no different than if citizens of the city wanted the city to donate to any other type of center, possibly a daycare or any other after-school programs or anything in that such matter. This would still be using taxpayer money that only a select group of citizens would benefit from. If we support all the requests that are presented to the city, it would definitely impact the funding for the most important areas of the city, police and fire. On an extra note, on a personal note, we all want to see the center succeed, and in no way am I trying to influence the board and the mayor of Aldermen in any direction. It's my fiduciary responsibility to the citizens of Laverne to act in the best interests of the municipality and its citizens. Any questions?
Any questions, Phyllis? Thank you, Phyllis.
Thank you.
We're down to Mayor and Alderman's comments. Alderman Brown,
No, thank you.
Alderman Jones,
Nothing, Mayor.
Vice Mayor Green.
No, sir.
I know everybody noticed the new boardroom that
Looks great.
that I wasn't really in favor of. I hated to give up the old one because it's been here so long, but it turned out good. I mean, it seemed like we got more room, and I believe it's going to be a good thing. But I want to thank Nathan Winters, Randy Frost, John Ballard, Andrew Schrofer, Brandon James, and Derek Eddard. They're with part-time and some of them maintenance, and they worked hard. They painted. They built a podium that brought this up, and a number of other things to probably saved us over $10,000. We worked. Everybody's worked hard. It's a team effort, and it turned out better than I thought of. I just hated to see the old stuff go because it's been here so long, but you know, time marches on, I guess. And I appreciate all the help we got from in-house. It saved a lot of taxpayers' money, and I appreciate it. And another thing, Tuesday, City Hall will be closed. We will not have the mayor and alderman meeting Tuesday because before the July, we moved it to Thursday. Welcome everybody to remember the 4th of July in the city. Everybody come out to 4th of July in the park. Bring your chairs and your blankets. We're going to have live music, food, and fireworks. Free parking, free admission. Everybody have a good time, and please don't rain. And it starts about 6:30, don't it, AC? And fireworks hopefully about 9.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
But it's the fireworks will rain or shine.
Right.
But it's something local. You don't have to drive the Nashville. You don't have to drive the Smyrna.
Right. You
can come to Laverne. A lot of people can see the fireworks from their front porch.
I can.
So everybody come out Tuesday. I think it's going to be a good time if it's not raining. And I hope everybody enjoys the boardroom. A lot of people worked hard And I was proven wrong. I had my skeptical about it, but it turned out well, Bruce. And I thank everybody involved, and I have nothing else. I call this workshop over.